very bitterly cold at the stadium, but yeah, it's a bit nicer tonight. No fog, nice clear night, good night for football, good surface as well, really slick pitch, really nice.
There's a throw in for Southend from the left side. Joe Gubbins taking it inside Boston's half. Scott Morris wins it back as Hussein tries to nudge it into a pie force, and he's managed to keep on his feet and put it out to Bond, who shoots it across. There's a touch off Hussein as it comes away, and it will be a goal kick. It must come off Scott Morris, who was hanging around in the penalty area, and it is a goal kick for Boston United. Let me talk you through the teams. Southend in all red, kicking from right to left. The one change from the east, the win with James Golding coming out, Ben Goodliff coming in, Hayes in the goal, Scott Morris on the right, Taylor and Goodliff in the middle, Gubbins in the left of a back four. Morton sits in front of them with Noor Hussein and Keenan Appiah Forson in front of him. Macaulay Bonne is on the right of an attacking trio with Liam Parallon on the left, and Hopper, the Boston-born man, up top. For Boston in their yellow and black striped shirts, black shorts and yellow socks, playing from left to right. Only one change for them from the defeat against Hartlepool. Cameron Gregory is in the goal. Zach Mills, the captain, is on the right side of a three-man defence with Nicholson and Teal on his left. Richards sits in front of them. Jai Rowe is a right wing back. Cameron Green a left wing back. Maguire and Hill sit in the midfield with Knowles and Hazel up top. And we'll see as this one develops as Goodliff heads away. Let's put back into Southend possession inside their half as Scott Morris tries to get them moving down the right. It's a 1-2 with Bond, but Scott Morris allows Appiah Forson onto the ball. And Taylor happy to let them go backwards. And April, I think just getting a little early look at the shape. I think it is what we expected. Well, I look like Maguire's a bit more advanced than I expected. So perhaps a bit of a 3-4-3 scenario inverted in the attacking trio. Yeah,
well, out of possession, they're actually a 5-2-3. And just trying to block any play, and I think they'll try and force Southend to go long because they know how well they can play, particularly through the thirds, and they're a good football inside Southend, so I think they'll just try and stop that as much as they can.
Parallon tries to keep hold of the ball and has managed to win a foul off of Maguire on the edge of the centre circle inside Boston's half. It's the first one that's been conceded with up to 3 minutes on the clock. Morton wants to take it quickly, has Parallon in front of him. Appiah Forson spreads it out to Scott Morris, who's advanced. He whips it in. Cross takes a little deflection as it made its way from the right side as it's cleared, but the Blues, wearing red, have possession back. Scott Morris hooks it back to Bonne. It's cleared back to the top scorer for Southend, and as the game of header tennis comes to an end, it is Southend that come away with it, with Scott Morris driving towards the penalty area from the right side, lines up his shot, it takes a deflection off the Boston defender in Zach Mills, and it goes out for a first corner kick of the game on the right side.
Yeah, what I really like about early from Appiah Forson is he's starting to build a really good relationship with Macaulay Bonne, who's playing wider than what we've seen him previously, and the combination is Appiah Forson's he wants to go beyond the play to get us up, and I really like that. It's really positive play from both of them.
So James Morton with the corner kick from the right side. Aims for that far post. Goodliff climbs. Doesn't quite win the ball as Boston take it back down, and there is an opportunity for a counter as Hazel comes away down this left wing. Not many options in front of him. He's going to have to do the work on his own as Taylor and Goodliff are up to intercept. Hazel tried to thread Jai Rowe on this right side, but Taylor reading it well, and he does win a throw in inside his half as it comes off Jai Rowe, the man who's got a brace for Boston in a 2-2 draw against Woking, their last home game back on the 8th of March.
One thing I really like about the defensively from Southend there is everyone had committed forward from the corner, and it was actually Macaulay Bonne who was the furthest player back playing that central defender role, just sweeping up. So there's real commitment from everyone to try and get those clean sheets and defend from the front all the way through.
Last clean sheet for Southend came at the end of January, that 2-0 win over Fylde back at Roots Hall, so Nick Hayes more than anyone will be keen to get a clean sheet back on his tally as Boston try to threaten Southend's penalty area from a long throw-in. Maguire has it, but Hussein tries to win it, but he stumbles. Boston on this right side, Rowe crossing it in, but straight onto the head of James Morton. That will trickle out for a corner kick to Boston, as you can hear from around me, and that we're in this home stand on the west side. Plenty of people with black and yellow hats on, home fans cheering them on. All the Southend fans are on the east stand on the far side, travelled in good numbers as they always do. They've packed out the southern part of that east stand. Cue of silence falling as Cameron Green lines up this first corner kick for the home side from the right. 5.5 minutes played, no goals between Boston and Southend here on BBC Essex Sport. Green steps up, left-footed. Hopper can't quite get there. There's a bit of a mess, scramble inside the 6-yard box as Teal tries to get a touch onto it as it bounced, but it eventually fell to Nick Hayes. So no threat from that occasion, still 0-0, but a bit scrappy.
Yeah, I think Boston are just going to want to take their moment, so any opportunity they get in open play, really. The set pieces, it was a little bit nervy. For the first one, we'll allow it.
We'll allow it. Get in the no settle. I suppose probably not used to the fact that they can see the whole pitch at the Jakeman's Community Stadium. By this time, we were in the same position pretty much as we're sitting in these tight tables, and we couldn't actually see the far left corner. I can see there's a big sign that says "We are Boston" in bright, big black writing on a yellow banner. But still, on this left side, Southend creating a nice attack as Gubbins feeds it into Parallon, left side of the penalty box, whips it in, but comes off the Boston defender. And now the Pilgrims trying to counter. They want to get Hazel going, but Goodliff has read him. The first touch, though, was into the path of the number 9 for Boston. Can't thread away through the Southend defence, and Taylor has to slide in to make sure Jimmy Knowles doesn't get there first on this right side for Boston, who have gained some territory back. It was a clever bit of skill from Southend to get themselves up the field, but they couldn't make it count. Meanwhile, Boston's wasteful play means a throw-in for the Blues inside their own half on the left wing for Gubbins to take. Joe Gubbins looking for... This is his first time he's had consecutive starts for Southend since the middle of October. He had a good role actually in the Eastleigh game. As I said, he mirrored Scott Morris in pushing up on that left side, and he was involved in a bit of play that we just saw. What can Southend do now they're in possession and getting into Boston's half on that right side? Taylor back to Morton. Pair exchange some passes before Appiah Forson wants to thread it forward. Parallon has drifted from that left side, coming onto the right, muscles away, able to turn into the penalty box, still moving, cuts it back. Scott Morris with the shot. It deflects away. Appiah Forson on the follow-up. Boston having to clear. And Bullet Limbs scrapping around to try and get it away, which they do. But Southend back in possession. Appiah Forson again. Maybe third time's a charm for the Blues. Not Morris. Thought about the shot, but still has Appiah Forson to his right. He pulls it back. Crossed in by Taylor. There's a header. And it's missed just to that right post. Man drifting in was Macaulay Bonn. Him and Parallon had switched sides, and a delicious cross loops in from that right side. They needed a header on the edge of the 6-yard box. Bonn got it, but not on target, still 0-0.
Yeah, really patient build-up from Southend, really enjoyable to watch. They had a couple of goes at it, and Macaulay Bonn just stepped away from his defender back towards the other side, and then he came in to attack the ball. Really good centre-forward play. Unlucky not to get on the score sheet.
And Macaulay Bonn got that first goal in the 2-2 draw against Forest Green Rovers. Keen to bet back on the scoreboard again. Spent part of his career in this part of the country, South Lincolnshire, as Boston tries to get forward through Hazel, but Taylor for Southend getting between the Boston man and the ball, and as he clears away, Hazel drags him down to ground, so it will be a free kick for the Blues inside their penalty area.
Yeah, Southend just need to be a little bit careful, because Ben Goodliff he's coming in with the player quite far, and it's just leaving a gap between Harry Taylor just to cover quite a large area where we've got our fullbacks high. Just need to be aware of that, because then we're left one-on-one attacking. So Goodliff, I like him coming in attacking the ball, but he just leaves that gap behind him, so just needs to be aware of that.
Goal kick, free kick aimed towards the left wing for Southend. No goals as we approach the end of the opening 10 minutes. Hopper trying to chase the ball down, but Boston's Teal will ensure that it goes out for a Pilgrims throw-in. Themselves looking to get back to winning ways. We had that 4-1 loss against Hartlepool on Saturday. The last win was a week ago against Rochdale. Certainly does Southend favours when it comes to contending for the playoffs. Rochdale currently in 7th at the moment, 2 games in hand. Scott Morris's touch as he tries to pick it up with a lateral pass is heavy, and Green has latched onto it. Boston on the trying to get on the counter, but have to turn backwards. They're moving it on this left side, back to Green. But his touches, his passes light, and Southend able to get it back through a pie of force, and he brings in Hussein. Parallon was bursting down the left side, but Hussein hadn't spotted him. Decided to go to Scott Morris on the right. This time Morton launches it forward down the right wing. Orders to back pass into the goalkeeper was a risky one, and it was spilt. That was nervy. It was Seal who had to chest it back into the path of his goalkeeper Cameron Gregory, but had Bon on his back shoulder. Decided to chest it, but there was a bit of a nervy moment there, April, as Bon tried to sneak in.
Yeah, he did, but just the play before that, we won the ball 10 yards outside the edge of the box, and we broke out, combined in the centre, and Leon Parallon absolutely opened his legs right down this left-hand flank, and nobody saw him. We went out the other side, but just one ball over the top and he would have been on one-on-one with the goalkeeper. Shame not to get that in, but if he keeps doing movements like that, he'll get one eventually.
And he's getting some words of encouragement from Kevin Mayer, the head coach. He's come out of his technical area and is prowling. Alongside to his right is Graham Coughlin. Of course, knows all about Southend United. Just over 40 appearances for them over 3 years before starting his coaching career with the Blues and through the reserves. Now he's joined Boston back in November. Quite a tough place to come into, second from bottom on their first time in the 5th tier. About 18 years. But he's managed to do it. 41% win rate, 10 wins and 7 draws from 24 games. And he's got them playing some certainly aggressive counter-attacking football, which is what we've seen so far. And now they have a throw-in on their right wing, in line with the outer edge of the penalty area in Southend's half, and it will be Brad Nicholson to line it up. As the home fans around us start chanting. It's a long throw-in. Don't quite reach the edge of the 6-yard box as Hopper is able to bump it away with his head. So another throw-in for the Pilgrims, much further back. That was a stonking header from Tom Hopper, that one.
Yeah, I think everyone was expecting, including the Boston players, that it was going to go further than what it did. Just 2 yards or so short of the edge of the 6-yard box.
Is it me, or is there a bit of a trend for long throw-ins at the moment in the National League? I definitely saw them against Eastleigh. We had them against Forest Green Rovers. Of course, Tom Tonks making headlines with Tamworth for his long throws, but they do seem to be... I've seen them more and more in National League, as we're probably going to have another one now as it comes off Morton's head. Yeah,
I think anything you can do that's an extra bit of armour. And I think the thing with long throws is that they can be drilled in as opposed to a long loopy one. And I think that they are difficult to defend, so if you can use them and you can use them well, you can score a lot of goals from them.
Well, Nicholson would take 2 with the long throw from this right side, and it is a repeat result. Hopper able to kick it away. Bond will try and chase it, but Hill is there ahead of him, able to get it back to Mills. His long passes go straight to the Southend goalkeeper. Wilston have a 1-0 lead over Aldershot Town. We'll keep you updated on those other goals as they fly in here on BBC Essex Sport on all frequencies and BBC Sport website. Meanwhile, Southend have a throw-in on their left wing. So a bit of a cat and mouse at the moment at the James Community Stadium, with both sides trying to find their weaknesses in each other. 0-0 after 14 minutes. Joe Gubbins will line up his version of the long throw-in, which he does, but headed away by Nicholson and on by Rowe, who's able to get there first, but Mawson trying to chip it forward into Parallon. A bit of silky skills as he tried to back heel it to keep it in play, but no dice, according to the assistant referee Alan Hall. So Boston back in possession, lining it up. Quite packed in actually over here at the Jatemans. Good crowd. Of course, Boston have seen EFL football in their time. About 18 years since they were relegated from the EFL in League 2 due to financial problems. Went straight down to National League North. Scubbins lines this one up for Southend to head it forward, but then he only finds Mills. Another long ball causing problems for Goodliff, but this time referee says that Hazel brought him down. But again, April just a little bit exposed as that high ball came in.
Yeah, I think they both had a bit of each other. Ben Goodliff was lucky to get that, but I think it just swung in Southend's way luckily, otherwise there would have been it was a bit of a horrible bounce between them, and then you're in a foot race, and that's one thing that you don't want as a centre half. I mean, any defender doesn't want to be running towards their own goal. So yeah, it's just, I think that he's there to cause problems, isn't he? So he's certainly doing that at the moment. But Southend are holding their own.
He'd worked to move down this right side as Bond threaded the ball into the penalty area from the right, but it is cleared away, so a throw in for Southend, which does get some applause from those travelling fans. Brought 2 buses worth of fans on the journey up. Part of it being the A16, one of the straightest roads I've ever seen. 1-2 from Scott Morris off the throw in as he tried to put the cross in, bounces off Pilgrim's defender. So another corner kick for Southend on that right side. James Morton will line this one up. This is how they scored their first goal down at Eastleigh at the Silver Lake Stadium. That was 63 seconds on the clock. Had a few more since now. 0-0 between Boston and Southend. 17 minutes played. With Morton surrounded by by people in yellow and black shirts in the stands. Can he create something here? Puts his hands up and swings it towards the near post. It's headed away by Rowe. Bounces over 2 players before Rapire Forson gets there to keep Southend in possession. Taylor into Hussein. Rapire Forson drifting left. Parallon wants to take on Green. Cuts inside. Goes along the grass into the penalty area, but again cleared away by Mills, the captain. Onto the head of Hussein. Southend win it back. Rapire Forson tries to cut inside, but Hill with the sliding tackle ensures it goes out, and it will be a Blues throw-in. Gubbins again to take this one. Good to see Joe Gubbins back in the starting 11 for Southend. Man who joined over the summer from QPR. He's on ball now, inside his own half. It's a good lift, and Morton, who's dropped into the back 4, he comes into that space between Taylor and Goodliff. As you say, April, there is a lot of space between the two of them. I wonder if the fact that Morton is sometimes dropping back, whether it's deliberate.
Yeah, no, it is deliberate, because Scott Morris and Gubbins get so high. When the 2 centre halves split, you just want to protect that gap in the middle. So Morton essentially becomes a 3rd centre back, and then your 2 full backs then join in the midfield. So yeah, it's definitely deliberate. And the good thing about Morton is that he's good on the ball. So when he receives it, he always wants to try and receive it on the half turn. Can we play? Can you get forward?
He's certainly enjoying some space here at the Jakeman's Kirk Community Stadium, and who's started the last 13 games, involvement in every Southend game this season. Continuing. Hopper and Parallon trying to move forward, which they will. Rapire Forson keeps it moving, but his header is a bit off. Gone for a new hairstyle today, Keenan, as well. I don't know what you call him. He's got his
bunches.
hair bunches.
Yeah,
bunches. Thank you.
He's got
yes.
2 bunches,
which is good. Suits him. It was great hearing him, of course, on that. You search BBC Essex Sport and you'll find his interview ahead of the game. It's great to see how he sort of worked his way back in April, and great to see that work ethic being rewarded.
Yeah, and I think the more minutes you get, the more confident he will get, and every ball he's tried to get on so far, he's always been the first to react, and he's really lively, and he just wants to get on the ball. Most
advanced as Southend attack drive down this right side. Scott Morris pushing it out to Bond, hugging the wing. Morton behind him. He wants to open up for the cross. Has to turn 180. Back to Taylor. Goodliff inside his own half. Gubbins to his left. But Goodliff goes back to Taylor. In front of those Boston fans packed into that east stand. No south stand here at the Jakeman's. Still a work in progress. We do have the north one as well. Nick Hayes had just spotted, just urging his team just to stay calm on the ball, not to rush in possession. Morton is hoping to find a pocket down that right side to get Scott Morris going, but only finds the head of Boston's Green as the home side launch it forward, looking for Knowles. This time Goodliff intercepting and finding Morton to Gubbins. That gets applause from the travelling fans for control, calmness, but calm possession on the ball. It's Gubbins now driving forward. He looked for Parallon, but the boot of Rowe means it goes out for a Southend throw-in, but it's a sustained pressure, April Smith. Yeah,
I think there's a difference between keeping possession for possession's sake and actually being patient to try and find that right pass. And I think sometimes it's hard to differ between the two. We've seen earlier on the season it would go from centre-back to full-back, and nothing would really happen. And the difference in this team now is they do want to go forward and they do want to get on the ball.
Well, Boston doing that as we were speaking. a bit of a running race between Hazel and Goodliff, but Goodliff winning that one and hooking the ball into the stands. There'll be another long throw-in for Boston for Brad Nicholson to take. Made a move to Scunthorpe United over the summer, but came back a couple of weeks ago. Back in February. It's his third stint at the club. Here he is lining up with a bit of a bun with that dark hair of his. He launches it forward. This time he'll find the edge of the 6-yard box. It's headed away, but not quite cleared, and Morton has to nudge it over the byline. So there'll be a second corner kick of the evening for the home side, and again it'll be from that right side. He's setting his sights a bit, the centre back for Boston. Altrincham has taken a 1-0 lead over Solihull Moors. Follows from Wealdstone leading Aldershot 1-0. Cameron Green lining up. This time he goes short, trying to catch Southend up, and he gets it back, cuts it inside. He might have invested a bit too much of Knowles. It was a clever move, but not quite on the same wavelength for Boston, so not able to create enough to be approached 22 minutes. Still goalless between Boston and Southend. A bit of creativity shown there, April Smith.
Yeah, and I think that's one difference, albeit we only saw 7 minutes last time, is that Boston, they are trying to play, and I think before there wasn't really much of that, and you can tell that they've worked with stuff, and there's a bit of method to what they're trying to do.
Hayes with a goal kick for Southend. Found the head of Hopper, and a Pye Fawson bringing it to ground to Bon on the right. Brings in Scott Morris. He wants to push it forward to Parallon, but it's read by Mills, who came across, and he manages to nudge it over the byline, and a corner kick for the Blues.
Feels very end-to-end at the moment, doesn't it? It feels really open. No team apart from a spell from Southend in the last 5 minutes or so had really got hold of possession much. It was, we'll have the ball, how quick can we attack? It's gone out, how quick can you attack?
Yeah, just still trying to figure each other out. But Morton with this corner kick from the right side. They've all been with the left foot. They swing towards the goal. This one aiming for the middle. It's headed across the penalty area as Parallon tries to keep it in. Hazel wanting to move it forward, but onto the boot of Southend's Hussein. He gives it back to Parallon. Crosses it, and it's too heavy, and Nicholson leaves it. So it'll be a goal kick for Boston. But yeah, as you say, the difference, I think, from the fast-paced movement that we saw against the Eastern game, we haven't quite seen that from Southend. I feel like they wanted to make the pitch a bit bigger, but it means that those one-touch passes aren't really possible.
Yeah, we saw a spell probably in the first 5 to 8 minutes where Southend were having flicks around the corner. They were trying to play one-touch passing, and it was working well. And that's just slowed down a lot. It's really hard to sustain that high level of energy all the way through 20 minutes or so. It's really demanding.
Well, Southend, I've been getting better on the road at the moment. 19 games played before today, won 6 of them and drawn 8. The goal count is ticking up as well. 21 goals on the road. Joint third least conceded at 20. Only 7 off matching last season's tally. As Boston tried to push it forwards with a long ball from that right side with Teal. They only ended up falling to the gloves of Hayes. So you get Scott Morris and Bon going down this right side. Bon having to turn towards the middle, gets it from Hussein, back thick to create a 1-2 as it goes from right to left. Gubbins has moved forward. Parallon is out on his left. He wants him to move forward, which he will. He's not offside as Parallon makes his way to the penalty area, puts it across, but Mills clearing it away. And again, that could have been close to a carbon copy of what we saw in the Easterley goal, but just going along the grass instead of crossing it in the air.
Yeah, really good combination play. The ball from Bond from one side of the pitch right over at the other touchline. He played a 1-2 with Knorr and then came all the way back out the other side just to start that play for Parallon out the other side. Really good play from Macaulay Bon.
A bit of a nervy moment for Cameron Gregory as he juggled with the ball, and Tom Hopper, the Boston-born man, tried to take it off him, but the 25-year-old standing strong. Referee blows his whistle as Joe Gubbins judged to have conceded a foul on Jacob Hazel, hugging the right wing for Boston. There'll be a free kick as Graham Coughlin is gesticulating to his teammates to try and get them at the tactical edge. In the meantime, it'll be Green to line up this free kick.
Really good centre forward play from Hazel. He just drew him in. He leant into him just to draw Gubbins into the foul. And then he basically just threw himself to the floor and he bought it from the referee.
Yeah, Jacob Hazel, an international player for St Kitts and Nevis, playing since 2016, 9 appearances and a goal to his name for his country. Green will line up this free kick, whips it in, but only finds the head of Scott Morris, who was nearest to the ball. Apaya Forson picks it up for Southend. Is it back to Scott Morris as he tries to loop it forward, but will only find Rowe. Apaya Forson tried to slide in, but the ball ends up falling for Maguire, almost stuck like glue to the grass. And Boston creates some intricate passes down this right side, trying to get Rowe forward. He nudges it into Knowles. He'll push it onto Maguire, but he can't set the turn away as Morton is able to sneak in, and he wants to get Bond moving down this right wing. And he's managed to get there as well. Parallon's up with him. Houston's trying to get there as well. Bond sprinting towards the byline. Crosses it in. It goes beyond Parallon. Houston will get to the second ball. Few options coming back to support him. Apaya Forson is one of them. Southend trying to push for a goal. He tries to drive towards the penalty area, but it's too heavy, and Maguire's able to win it back and clears it down the line. Gubbins will chase it as it will stay in. Goodliff tried to clear it. Well, you could hear a few demonstrations around us. Hazel thought he got a touch onto the ball, but the linesman says it was an offside. But again, that's where the danger is from Boston at the moment. They know that they can put the high balls in on Southend and get Hazel moving. Meanwhile, Southend trying to drive forward through Scott Morris. A cross whipped in, aiming for Hopper, but had a lot onto it as Boston tries to keep it in, but they won't. Coming back to that point, April Smith, the high ball's dangerous at the moment from Boston.
Yeah, particularly this channel against Joe Gubbins they just keep attacking that channel the whole time, and can they get wide? And then they've got players 4 or 5 in numbers that are arriving late into the box, but they keep trying to get down this channel, and it's a really interesting battle between Hazel and Gubbins so far.
Southend with the throw in though on their right wing. Scott Morris wants to whip the cross in. It's a deflection. Apaya Forson with the header, but it loops up and bounces into the path of Cameron Gregory.
But there's real intent from both teams, and you can feel that here. But you know, they've both got something to play for, and they want to try and catch the other team out as best they can. So as soon as Boston get 20 yards outside their box, they're thinking, how can I get into Southend's box as quickly as possible and most direct?
Good news for Southend fans. York City leading Rochdale by 1-0. Rochdale sitting in 7th with 2 games in hand on the Blues. Of course, if the Blues get the win and other results go their way, they can go 2 points clear in 7th in those playoff positions. Plenty to fight for. Of course, Boston 3 points away from safety. They need a lot of goals to make up the difference to get out of the relegation zone, but we've seen stranger things, but certainly Southend hoping that won't happen. We've approached 29 minutes, still Boston 0, Southend 0 on BBC Essex Sport with me, Warren Muggleton, and Southend United ladies coach April Smith. Southend though winding it up. Scott Morris whipping a cross in. Has to be headed away. Morton with the follow-up shots. Fizz, but wide to the right. They've just taken up the pace a little bit. Scott Morris whipped it in. That second ball, that's what Southend are getting to. But James Morton unable to find the accuracy with that second shot on goal for Southend of this game.
Yeah, and what Southend have done so far, which I really like, is that they try and play things early. Can you play first time? Can you hit it with a bit of fizz? And there's all intent behind everything. It's a million miles from what we saw last time we was here, definitely.
What we thought we saw anyway.
Well, we wasn't too sure.
No, it's still a very, very beautiful, clear evening in South Lincolnshire. Can't quite see the stars in the sky, with whispers of cloud, but that's all they are, whispers. As Boston come down this right side through Rowe, but he can't get past Gubbins. All fall to Southend's Parallon. He wants to accelerate away from Richards, but his first second touch was heavy as Teal thumps it away. There will be a Southend throw-in inside their own half. Leon Parallon, he's looking to get a goal for the first time since the end of January in a 5-1 defeat for Slough Town, where he joined the Blues from against Boreham Wood. Gubbins will try to find him. He almost did with the throw-in, but the attempt at control from Parallon didn't quite come off, and it will go all the way back to the Boston goalkeeper, although his distribution was a bit nervy to say the least, as it bounces off Hazel of Boston into Scott Morris of Southend. Feeds it into Bond down the right. Apaya Forson getting involved again. Back to Scott Morris. Wants to drift in, but the options were blocked out. Wall of yellow and black in front of him. Comes back to Morton and Taylor. They come towards the centre. Morton always with his head up, always head on a twist at the moment. Always looking, always assessing what's in front of him. Taylor, first time looks for Bond, but pass lacked the accuracy, and Boston trying to come away through Maguire. Came off his opposite number of Pia Forson of Southend, and a throw in for Boston, which they want to take quickly. As Hazel has got in front, he's driving down this left side. Knowles is inside the penalty box, but the cross lacked conviction, and it lacked the accuracy, and Goodliffe able to clear it away. But once again, they're playing it quickly and putting it in the air. Hazel has the step on the Southend defence.
Yeah, everything Boston do is, can they do it quick? Can they catch us out of shape? Luckily on that occasion there wasn't real any quality once it had been flicked over, but again the ball bounces, goes over the top, and then they're in a foot race against the Southend centre halves.
So Nicholson with his first throw in for Boston from the left this time. The Southend fans around him. Launches it. I think that will make the edge of the 6-yard box as Scott Morris is able to head it away. Hill will only find Morton of Southend, who thumps it downfield, asking Bond to chase it, but Green had stayed back. And Kevin Mayer showing he's still got the touch. Bit of control. As Southend wants to take the throw in, which they do. Go from left to right. Morton spreading balls all across the pitch as Scott Morris wants to get forward. Into Bond. Again, Pia Forson making a run inside. This time he's found by Scott Morris. Can't get forwards. And is back to goal. Scott Morris into Bond. The top scorer gets it back. Pia Forson's now made the run into the penalty area. Just goes beyond him though. And it will be a goal kick. I'm glad to see that they are working with him more, April. As I said, that the runs he was making against CC were those runs, but now Scott Morris and Bond are trying to work with Keenan a bit more to find him and bring him in, and it almost came off there. Yeah,
the good thing about both Pia Forson and Leon Parallon is they're building relationships either side. So you've got Nor and Hopper on Parallon's side, and then you've got Bond and Gus Scott Morris the other side. So those triangles are really key to have options both sides. So if they go one way and it's not working, they'll come back through Morton and then they can go out the other side. So they're just building those options to give themselves options.
Yeah. Options are the name of the game, April. That's all we can ask for.
Yeah.
Well, certainly Southend hoping to make them. They're looking for a first win at the Jakeman's Community Stadium since 2004, when these sides were playing in Division 3 before it became League 2 together. Southend in possession inside Boston's half. Morton threads it into Scott Morris on that right side. Fizzes it across, but it comes off Nicholson again. Doesn't quite go out for a corner kick. It's a throw-in. There were a few appeals before, as there was an incident near the technical area where one of the Boston players was dragged down, but the referees say nothing given, despite Graham Coughlin's recreation of the incident to the fourth official.
Yeah, I think they were also claiming that Noor handballed it, but I think if it comes off another body part now, it's not actually handball. But I think players forget. It's just instinct, isn't it?
Yep. 34 minutes on the clock. No goals at the Jakeman's Community Stadium between Boston United and Southend United. Scott Morris for Southend with this long throw from the right, headed away by Nicholson. But Southend get to that second ball. Scott Morris back to Morton. Still defenders forward. It's Parallon, wants to create space. Comes back to Scott Morris. Gets it to the middle where Bond is on the edge of the penalty area. Puts it across to Gubbins. First time cross. Will look for a header, but cleared away by Mills. And this time Green will fire it downfield. But Taylor for Southend in the right position. As it forward, Knowles has gone down in a heap as Southend get back in possession. A slip from one of the defenders means Morton has a bit more space. Pia Forson to his right, who he brings in. Forson gets it back. Little flick through the legs back to his right. Hussein is waiting to whip the cross in, but all the players have come to that near post on the right side, and the ball bounces beyond all of them before trickling out for a throw-in on Boston's right wing. No goals to report here. Plenty of throw-ins, plenty of attempts to try and threaten the goals of Nick Hayes of Southend and Cameron Gregory of Boston, but nothing of note yet.
No, and I think what's happening is they're getting into really good areas and they're trying to do things with conviction and put power behind it, but then actually the things that need to have a little bit taken off them, they're just doing that at that same pace. It's just catching people off guard. Like there was a great combination play to get the ball out to Noor Hussein on the other side, and the ball's just overhit, so everyone's gone in because they think we're going to combine around the edge of the 18-yard box. But actually Nor's looked up and thought, oh well, there's no one in that gap right at the other side, I'm going to go and put it in there, and no one else really read it. So
maybe it's a bit more direct, maybe a bit more forward perhaps is what needed. Scott Morris trying to do that for Southend. Threading into a Pie Forson. He's found some space. Puts a cross in. Aims a parallel. But Rowe getting there first and has to over the byline. But as you say though, Southend finding the width, finding the space. Now they're getting the accuracy with the crosses and causing Boston some difficulties. As Morton will line up this corner kick. A fourth for the game for Southend. This time from the left side. James Morton. Have the assist in that Eastleigh game. He's up to 7 assists now for the season in all competitions. This time it'll swing away from the goal from this left side with the left foot. Aims for that far post. There's a lot on that one as well. Taylor puts it back in but headed away by Green. Pie Forson tries to keep it alive, but Hazel of Boston has come away. Wanted to get Knowles involved, but comes off the body of Goodliff. Few suggestions of handball from the fans around us, but they were very short-lived. And Southend back in possession in their own half. No threat from that, but latest Boston counter-attacking attempt. Morton wanting to bring Scott Morris in, but his first passes that lacked the accuracy, that one. And the Pilgrims back in possession. Again firing it forward. Hazel wants to get there ahead of Goodliff, and Goodliff has slipped, and Hazel is in! And it glances to the right of goal. Goodliff with the slip. Hazel stayed on his feet and had to go the long way round Hayes to try and get the shot on goal, but it goes wide in the end, and those dangers of Hazel being shown again, still 0-0.
Yeah, and you can see why he's got so many goals this season already. Real clinical. As soon as that ball was on the floor from the bounce, he didn't even get his head up, and he thought, I'm going to hit this as hard as I could into that bottom corner, and it's just gone wide of the post. But really, really dangerous play. Just need to be aware of that, because we just got caught underneath the ball.
Hazel about a metre away from making it 3 goals in 3 games for Boston, who have given away possession again in their own half, and it's another throw-in for Southend. We come up to double figures for the number of throw-ins that we've seen in this opening 38 minutes. But Blues trying to create on the floor now. Bond into a Pie Forson. Trying a few step overs to put some pressure on Hill. Scott Morris with an overlapping run. Again tries to whip the cross in, but comes off Hill this time. He'll loft it into a Pie Forson. Controlled in the penalty area. It's whipped across, and Gregory had to get down smartly to his left, because there were bodies waiting beyond him in Tom Hopper. And it goes out for another corner kick for Southend. And again, that's what we want to see, that creativity, more one-touch stuff. A lovely little chip over from Scott Morris as he made the overlapping run, gave a Pie Forson the space to run into the penalty area.
Yeah, and just needed someone to attack that front post, even just to rotate the play and just keep it. But we'll take the corner kick. Goalkeeper had to be very quick, make himself really big.
Yeah, Cameron Gregory able to do that on this occasion. Morton with his 5th corner kick of the game for Southend from the right. Aims for the far post, but straight to the gloves of Gregory. A nervy moment as he just misjudged it. It bounced out of his hands, but put himself flat on it. And it almost like he fell onto the ball, almost like a Looney Tunes character, making himself really wide and flat across the ball.
I love moments like that. You feel like the whole crowd just goes just for like one moment.
The unanimous intake of breath.
Yeah.
So Gregory with more confidence about his kick away. We only find Southend's Gubbins with the head. Hopper tried to get it moving forward, but Mills is just getting the better of him at the moment. Hopper not been able to get involved as much in this game, April, as we saw in the Eastleigh game. Why do you think that is?
I think he's operating more isolated, really. So he's coming in quite deep, and then that allows someone else to go in beyond. So like Bon at the moment, so Hopper will come in and Bon will come out from the right hand side in centrally. So yeah, we've just seen that, and at the moment we're not being as direct, so we're playing a lot down our wings. But you'll see that. But he's doing quite a good job on Tom at the moment.
Pie Forson wants to get Bon running down the right, but Green is there to stop the ball from going out. It's clearance though, goes back to a Pie Forson of Southend. Again goes laterally, spotted Gubbins running on that left side. He gives it to Hussein, who lines it up. Comes off of Gregory. Came off his body and spun away, but he's able to get there. No other Southend players near the ball, but that's the first shot on target from Southend. It comes outside the penalty box though.
Yeah, really good play though from right to left and then back across central, and then Noor Hussein he was in acres of space, no one marking him, just outside the edge of the D. Why not have a go?
Certainly so. Never going to criticise them for that. Last goal came in the 2-1 win over Aldershots at Roots Hall. Goodliff has gone straight down as himself and Knowles climb for the ball, holding his face. Referee Niall Smith seems to think he saw Jimmy Knowles putting his hands on the face of Ben Goodliff as well, who stayed on. The card is out. I expect this to be the first one for the Boston forward. And Niall Smith, first time referee in Southend of his career, and his third National League game of the season as well. And those boos ring around from the home fans as Jimmy Knowles goes into the book, April.
Yeah, and I think the linesman directly in front of us had a really good view of it. I don't think there was much intent there, but I think he still caught him nonetheless, and it's warranted a yellow card.
To my left, more personal coaching from Kevin Mayer to Leon Parallon as well. Also getting more involved in the game. Coach, 4 minutes of normal time left in this first half at the James Community Stadium. No goals on the board to report for you here on BBC F6 Sport. It'll be great to hear from you. Victoria probably waiting in the studio. Comes to Parallon of Southend. I'll give you those numbers in just a second. Parallon juggling with the ball to the left of the penalty area. Aims a cross in. Aims for Hopper. Got the header on target. Just lacked the power. And Gregory able to get down. But that's about 3 shots now that Gregory's had to deal with. The numbers for you. Text 81333 or WhatsApp 0800321 Start those messages with Essex or messages on X at BBC Essex Sport. But April Smith, chances starting to build for Southend towards the end of this first half.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would be moaning too much about if Southend were to go in at half-time 1-0 up. But Boston missed a great chance. I think they'd be really gutted that they're not 1-0 up themselves.
Meanwhile, Southend looking to get themselves on the scoreboard as they come forward through Scott Morris and Appiah Forson down this right side again. Scott Morris has drifted towards the middle of Boston's half. Morton keeps it alive. One of them as it goes backwards. Appiah Forson wants to get forwards again. Scott Morris gives it back to Morton. Now Bond has some space to come in. It's all one-touch stuff again now from Southend as they're trying to pull the strings. Bond inside to Parallon. Might think about the shots here. Just always lifting. Might have been dangerous the way he was lining it up, but just got too much of his boot under the ball and fizzed over the top of that, low-sitting North stand, and it remains 0-0. But you have to say again, 4 shots or so in the last 5 minutes for Southend, and starting to crank up the gears. Yeah,
and Kev Mayer gave him a big round of applause there. So he's obviously told him to get on the ball. Can you get shots away? Can you test the keeper? We've seen him from distance build 3 or 4 balls, even one from a corner. So he's definitely not as comfortable as what you might think. So why not have a go? You never know what might go in.
Yeah, good season for Leon Parallon so far. 38 appearances, including his time at Slough Town. 5 goals, 4 assists. Knowles trying to chase the ball down for Boston, but was always going into the gloves of Southend's Hayes, who launches it towards Scott Morris. Takes a touch to control before giving it to Bond. His control, though, not as good on that occasion. Gives it back to Boston for a throw-in just inside their own half on the left wing. 1 minute of normal time left. No goals between Boston and Southend. Southend looking for 10 games unbeaten for the first time in a year. Whereas Boston themselves, while they have been on that good run of 4, haven't got a home win since the end of January. As they launch a throw-in, again it comes off Scott Morris of Southend. And the Blues, wearing red, back in possession. Gubbins, gives it to Hussein, but gets it straight back. Parallon, able to turn and launch the ball down that left wing. Hopper wants to keep it alive, it ends up nudging into the back of Teal, and ball just bobbles out for a throw-in for Boston.
I think he was expecting a free kick for some kind of push, but it was the lightest of touches of Tom Hopper.
It was Zach Mills, I beg your pardon. 1 minute to come of stoppage time in this first 45 minutes. Where, as I say, most 35 minutes or so, not too much to report on. Both sides getting forward. Southend creating a couple of things on the ground, while Boston threatening Southend aerially, targeting Hazel. He had probably one of the best chances we've seen in this game, although that might change with Hopper tracking back, but The ball falls into the gloves of Cameron Gregory, but Southend have managed to find a bit of pace with the movement of the ball and their positioning to threaten Cameron Gregory's goal. Put a couple of shots on target on the board, but no goals. Yeah. So you have 20 seconds left of this first half. Gregory launches the ball like a rocket into the sky, or it falls onto the head of Morton for Southend. Parallon trying to twist and turn away. And I was in two minds about whether to give it to Gubbins or not. And there's a look up to the heavens in frustration, but we'll move on quickly as there's no more time for any more action. As Niall Smith says, that's enough for 45 minutes. As I say, no goal mouth action to report, as both sides have been trying to get a good look at each other in this bright South Lincolnshire evening. Haven't been able to threaten the goal. Best chance coming to Jacob Hazel about 10 minutes before the end of the 45, as he cuts it across from the left side of the penalty area towards that right post. Couldn't find that bottom corner. Hussein and Parallon have had shots from distance, but again, nothing to threaten Cameron Gregory's goal. So goalless between Boston United and Southend United at the break. And April, I think, we saw flirtations from Southend of what they can do when they tick up the pace of the ball. And just more of that really when we go into the second half.
Yeah, I think the messages will be the same from Kevin at half time. I think he'll say more runs off the ball, really good intent. Can we commit bodies with a bit more conviction once we get into that final third? Because there's balls going into the box really early, getting some really good positive play, runs off the ball. But actually when we're there, it's either then trickling through or we're just not quite meeting them. So just a little bit of tweaking here and there. But overall, a really good half from Southend, really good positive play, and I think it's only a matter of time before their hard work pays off and they do get on the score sheet. So
it's a good point actually. I wonder as well, obviously we talked about how they're playing wide as well. I think about some of those crosses where a lot of them have sort of come to the near post and it's just bounced over and maybe there's one guy waiting. Maybe one of those tweaks, maybe just becoming a little bit narrow whilst keeping the pace of the ball, or would you keep that width that they've got?
I would keep the width, but the person who's on the opposite side just needs to arrive later. So if it does go over, you've just got both options. But I know you mentioned Tom Hopper centrally. He's doing a lot of work and he's dragging people out to give those space out wide. So it's a lot of selfless work that's going on from Tom at the moment. But I think messages from Kevin will be: can we get Parallon on the ball? Can we get a Pye Fulton on the ball? Can we get those shots and combinations? Just take them up 5 yards and just be aware, just be a little bit more settled, probably at the back from Goodliff. Don't commit as much to Hazel because you're just playing into their hands at the moment, and if it does bounce then we could be in real trouble.
April Smith, thank you very much. We'll be back for the second half. Don't forget Victoria Polly waiting in the studio. You can text 81333 or WhatsApp 08000 321 333. Start your messages with Essex. Well, no fog tonight here in South Lincolnshire, but the sight of goal for both of these teams is a little bit cloudy at the moment, but Southend working their way in, and as we say, they just need to keep chipping away at Boston United. Half time at the Jakeman's Community Stadium. Boston United 0, Southend United 0.
Make a difference. When someone has given so much,
it's great to give something back.
I don't know what to say. I'm just a normal bloke.
Celebrate the incredible volunteers, the great neighbours and the outstanding fundraisers by nominating them for a BBC Make a Difference award.
The community was the main thing.
Getting rewarded for it is just absolutely fantastic.
Go to bbc.co.uk/make a difference,
where you can see a list of categories, full terms and our privacy notice.
Coming out here helping others actually helps me.
Nominations are open now and close on the 31st of March at 5 p.m.
BBC Essex. Make a difference. BBC Essex Sport. Evening to you from Victoria Polly on BBC Essex Sport. 26 minutes to 9. Goalless at the break for Southend United at Boston in the National League. 81333 on the text, 08000 321 333 on WhatsApp, starting your message with the word Essex if you want to get in touch with your first half thoughts. Evening to Nemo, who has done just that. This is a good first half for Southend, but again we show our weakness in front of goal. Our strikers and creative midfield players, or lack of show why we don't score goals, says Nemo. Let me know your thoughts. You can also get us at BBC Essex Sport on X, essex.sport@bbc.co.uk to email us as well and let us know your thoughts so far in the first half. Hello as well to Simon, who's listening live in St Lucia. Sounds very nice. It says, come on, you shrimpers. You can get us now and let me know your first half thoughts, or don't forget as well, we're on air until 10:30. So we've got plenty of time for reaction throughout the programme. Let me run you through half-time and latest scores from elsewhere this evening. World Cup qualifiers are into stoppage time at the end of the first half for Wales. They're goalless with North Macedonia this evening. Elsewhere, we've got games going on in League Two. Couple of games there. Half-time, Port Vale 0, Barrow 1, and Carlisle United 2, MK Dons 2. They're into 6 minutes of stoppage time at the end of the first half there. It is Carlisle who've got the equaliser after former Colchester United midfielder Alex Gilbey had put MK Dons 2-1 up. National League scores from elsewhere at the end of stoppage time in the first half is Altrincham 1, Solihull Moors 0. You've heard the first half commentary of Boston United 0, Southend United 0. Rochdale 0, York City 1, Ollie Pearce with the goal there. Wealdstone 1, Aldershot Town 0, and Woking 0, FC Halifax 0. That is now half time. Altrincham 1, Solihull Moors 0. Scores locally for you. These are half times in the Isthmian Premier. Hastings United 1, Canvey Island 0, and Potters Bar Town 0. Hashtag United 1. Hashtag United hovering outside the playoff places after a bit of a dip in form. Isthmian North this evening. Grays Athletic 1, Basildon United 0. Basildon United on that long winless run since October, and it's Walthamstow 1, Whittam Town 2. Whittam Town again hovering outside the playoff places, but there is quite the gap stretching between those outside and the top 5, so we'll keep our eyes on that as we go into the final month of the season. And Essex Senior League half-time scores for you tonight. Goalless between Benfleet and third place Takeley. It's Holbridge Sports 1, Halstead Town 1, Saffron Walden Town chasing the playoffs 0, Buckhurst Hill 0, and they're into stoppage time at the end of the first half, where it's Stansted 2, Athletic Newham 0. Slightly surprising scoreline given Stansted currently did sit 6 points from safety going into this evening's game. So we'll round up those full-time scores for you in the final part of the programme as well. Keep you up to date with the National League scores throughout second half commentary with Warren and April as well, and we'll run through the National League table before we finish at 10:32. Want to bring you some other footballing news at the moment, though, before we get back to our commentary game. Have you ever heard the story of Frank Sue? He may be one of the most groundbreaking footballers in English football, and he has links here in Essex. He was the first person from Chinese heritage to play in English football. He made nearly 200 First Division appearances for Stoke City in the 1930s, and he finished his career at Chelmsford City as well. He also made 9 caps for England. He was the first player of colour to do so, but because they took place during the Second World War, they weren't officially recognised. That all changed last November when he was inducted into the National Football Museum's Hall of Fame. You may remember we covered it at the time, and there was some special celebrations and commemorations that took place around Chelmsford City at the time as well. Alan Lau is the founder of the Frank Sue Foundation, and he was at last week's BBC Essex Senior Cup final to talk to BBC Essex's Warren Muggleton about Frank's legacy.
He played with the 3 lions on his chest 9 times for England, and also was a captain of the RAF team during the war.
Wow. Right, so, I mean, he's a massively significant person in football history then, so honouring him in this way, it's a big thing.
Yeah, 100%, and I hope that's just the start of honouring him and seeing how someone in history can hopefully inspire the next generation or the next generations of other communities who want to get involved in football.
Well, we've been hearing a lot this evening about the work Essex FA has been doing, nurturing grassroots football, I suppose. the work that they're doing, it ties into what the Field Foundation wants to do with Frank Sue and just encourage more people, whatever their ethnicity or whatever it is, to get into football.
Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of things going on in the county's FA to encourage coaches, referees. I'll tell you a little bit about the story of why I'm here, really, because what happened was during the time we were inducted to the National Football Museum, there was a game between Chelmsford and St Albans, and that actually clashed with the County Cup.
Yeah.
And we wrote to the Essex FA to ask, can you move the County Cup game so the St Albans and the Chelmsford game can carry on? Because the other thing was, Frank also managed St Albans,
right.
So that game in particular was very important because it marries the two clubs that he played for and managed in the area. And to tell you the truth, counties, you don't change a County Cup game every day. So I really support Essex FA, and I really think it's a great thing what they did. And I mean, they could have easily just said no, but I think they've seen the magnitude of that game and what it meant for our communities and what it meant for the Frank Sue story. So I really have to commend Essex FA for that.
Okay. I'm curious for yourself, how did you get involved with the story of Frank Sue?
Okay, that's a very good question too. So I've been involved in grassroots football in the Chinese and East Asian community for over 10-15 years now, and it was a mutual friend of mine who actually got in contact with me and told me about a lady called Susan Gardner who was writing a book on Frank Sue. And when I heard about his story, and to hear that there was a player from a Chinese background who played for England, I mean, that blew my mind.
Yeah. And
I knew exactly there and then I had to do something and be part of that story.
Yeah. So I suppose the question now is then you want to bring more children with that background to try and get to those highest levels of English football.
Yeah, 100%. We recently launched a collaboration we're doing with other county FAs to bring the Frank Sue Cup, which is a 9-a-side football tournament for people from East and South East Asian communities to participate in football. And also we're in talks with the FA about seeing how we can honour Frank more so because of, he didn't get an official cap, but we're really going for the honorary cap.
Brilliant. Well, if people want to find out more about the Frank Sue Foundation, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, you can come on social media or onto our website, which is www.thefranksuefoundation.org.uk.
That's Alan Lau there from the Frank Sue Foundation speaking to Warren at last week's BBC Essex Senior Cup final. It's 17 minutes to 9.
BBC Essex Sport.
Good evening to you from Victoria Polly on BBC Essex Sport, where at half-time it's Boston United 0, Southend United 0. Chances few and far between.
It is Southend that come away with it, with Scott Morris driving towards the penalty area from the right side. Lines up his shot. It takes a deflection off the Boston defender in Zach Mills, and it goes out for a first corner kick of the game. As Hazel has got in front, he's driving down this left side. Knowles is inside the penalty box, but the cross lacked conviction and it lacked the accuracy, and Goodliffe able to clear it away. And Goodliffe has slipped, and Hazel is in! And it glances to the right of goal. Goodliffe with the slip. Hazel stayed on his feet and had to go the long way round Hayes to try and get the shot on goal, but it goes wide in the end, and those dangers of Hazel being shown again, still 0-0.
A nervy moment for Southend United there. Can they create something at the other end in the second half? We've got commentary on the way for you. Evening to Francis, who's been in touch on WhatsApp, says, I couldn't make it tonight. Listening to the commentary in the first half was tough. The same old story. Southend creating chances but not taking them. At least they are giving Boston a tough go. They just need to keep going. Let's see if we can get a goal in the second half. Congratulations to Jack Bridge as well on the birth of his baby boy. Hope to see you back Saturday. Thank you very much for your messages. Don't forget we're on air until 10:30 for your reaction. We'll round up all the scores from elsewhere. We'll keep you up to date with what else is going on in the National League in the second half as well. Goals as they go in. But let's hope for goals for Southend United at Boston. Second half commentary to come. Your team for this one, Warren Muggleton and April Smith.
BBC Essex Sport.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Indeed, we are keeping our fingers crossed and toes crossed on what's becoming a bit of a chilly night now in South Lincolnshire. We'll see some goal-mouth action at the Jakeman's Community Stadium with a score goalless between Southend United and Boston United. Southend looking to go 10 unbeaten for the first time in a year. So on the way to that with 45 minutes left. Boston looking to get a first win against Southend in 20 years. Southend looking to keep up their good run against the Pilgrims. We are getting ready to get started for this second half. Southend in all red kit playing from left to right. Boston in yellow and black shirts, black shorts and yellow socks playing from right to left. Referee Niall Smith is signalling to make sure the goalkeepers are ready before he checks his watch. All people starting to make their way back with warm cups of tea and coffee and hot chocolate, maybe something a little bit stronger, I don't know. Whatever tickles the appetite, I suppose, on these late winter, early spring nights across the country. April Smith with me. She had an energy drink, but unfortunately it went flying over the seats. But I think you got most of it, though.
Yeah, it's been a very long day. A very long day.
Like I said, you were impressed with what you saw from the Blues in the first half. I mean, it was tweaking things, wasn't it? You were impressed with Bond, you were impressed with Keenan and Pie Force and what they were doing. Just a case of getting them on the ball a bit more, getting people on the opposite wings, making those runs at the right time as well. And that could be the key to getting the ball in the net for Southend.
Yeah, I think so. I think more of the same from Southend. Really positive play, quick play, played with intent, and just trying to bring other people into play, not trying to do it on our own, which is what I'd like to see more of in the second half. It'd be interesting to see what Boston do. They've come out and they've actually tried to play the ball, whereas in the first half they were going quite direct, straight up to Hazel. But they're actually just trying to get on the ball a bit now. So we'll see how the first 5-10 minutes go of the second half.
They've tried to send the ball down that left side for Knowles to chase, but Goodliff was able to read it and give it back to the Southend goalkeeper Hayes. I'll just talk you through the teams again. Hayes in goal for Southend, Scott Morris on the right of a four-man defence, Taylor and Goodliff in the middle with Gubbins on the left, Mawson sitting in front of them, Hussein and Appiah Forson in front of him, Bon on the right, Parallon on the left, and Hopper up top in an attacking trio for Boston. Gregory in goal, Mills the captain is the middleman in a trio with Teal to his right and Rawlin and Nicholson to his left. Richard sits in front of them with Hill. We've got Rowe on the right, Green on the left, and Maguire almost in an inverted attacking trio with Knowles and Hazel up top. No changes for either team at the break. Parallon has managed to keep Southend in position. He was trying to be clever with the way he passed the ball back to Taylor, but he was able to win it back. And now Parallon has spread the ball from left to right. Bond bringing it to ground and bringing Scott Morris in. Southend in their red kit this evening. Morton trying to thread through, but intercepted by Knowles, and the offside flag goes up as Hazel wanted to get running down the left. They hadn't curved his run round enough as the ball was fed in by Maguire, and the offside flag goes up against Boston for a second time in this game. So Southend again has restarted. Again, April is just having that sharpness in defence, isn't it? With Taylor and Goodliff positioned wide of each other as the centre-back pairing. Morton has to be aware when he loses the ball. He's got to get back in those positions. Yeah,
he just needs to be really careful. He just tried to thread a pass through and split the two central midfielders and just lost possession. But again, he has to be careful because then it's 1v1.
Taylor's just lost possession as well as he tried to go for the ball again. It's caught Hazel as he got there first. So it is a free kick for Boston at 10 metres beyond the halfway line. 5 metres inside the left wing. And Boston will look to loop this one in. Maguire stepping up to it.
Yeah, it's just come from a bit of sloppy passing coming out of the second half, just not quite into feet, and then just having a Goodliff and Harry Taylor just having to reach for those balls instead of them being intentionally played to them. We've just started to rotate the ball backwards as opposed to going direct forward, so I'd like that to change quite quickly if we can.
Frankie Maguire step up for this right-footed free kick for Boston. Loops it in, headed away by Morton. Richards keeps it alive for Boston, but Bond gets to that header, manages to nudge it downfield. It will be a throw-in again for Boston on their right wing, but a much less dangerous position. Stepping up to it will be Connor Teal, and he was an Englishman born in Akrotiri in Cyprus. He joined from Altrincham in November, former Fleetwood man. They throw it in from this right side. The chest on and there's a shot. Oh, what a goal for Boston United. It was a very clever move of Kevin Green finishing it off from the throw-in, chested into his path and fizzed in to a statuesque Nick Hayes as it snuck to his inside his left and into the right side of the goal. And Boston, who have come out flying in the second half, have a goal, and it's Boston United 1, Southend 0.
I think they've come out and done exactly what they wanted to do, Boston. They've come out, they've got on the ball, they've started to combine, and they just caught Southend completely off guard. Everyone basically stood still, and they didn't think that he was going to have the shot, and he's just shifted his shoulder right, shifted it left, and it's just hit across Nick Hayes, who didn't even attempt the save.
Oh, he's a former Braintree man. And Cameron Green, the man celebrating, who give Boston United the lead after an edgy but fruitless first half. Boston that come out fine. Well, the men behind us have given it to Frankie Maguire. I thought I saw Green celebrating, but it's Frankie Maguire that will get the official credit for the goal. And here's the one who puts Boston ahead of all of that. The main point is Southend are behind. They need to respond straight away, and maybe they'll do it now. Parallon go drifting from left to right into Scott Morris. He wants to get forward, but it's a cross in. Looks for the head of Hopper. Almost an immediate response, but his header looping over the crossbar, that left of goal.
But it's the first time that we've seen Southend combine, get wide and then get a ball into the box, and we're 6 minutes into the second half, so it's just taken them a little bit. Boston come out the better team from half time, and we've been punished for it, unfortunately.
Yeah, frustration. Now Kevin Mayer out again, kicking the grass in front of him in frustration. It's Graham Cloughton, the former Southend man, looks on. Bond's header from the goal kick from Boston bounces out, and that gets some jeers from the home fans. That just changed the dynamic of the game as well, April, because now Boston, they don't have to advance, they can just sit back and allow Southend onto them, but just keeping their shape and being defensive, and Southend have to get around that.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be in any rush to play every time it goes out, every time they get a throw. They're just going to try and disrupt, and if they get a chance to get in advanced areas, then they'll be patient.
And all of a sudden it's Boston with all the energy as Knowles tries to whip it in. It comes off Taylor, which wins the corner kick, and all of a sudden the crowd around us rising, those fans packed into that north stand, cheering and singing and clapping rapturously as their team get a corner kick. 52 minutes on the clock, Boston leading Southend by a goal to nil. The goal scorer, Frankie Maguire, coming back into the starting 11, finding the net. He lines up this corner kick from the left side in front of a Boston United flag. Swings around the goal and it's headed away by Hopper. He goes up for another corner kick. This is a big spell of pressure Southend are having to contend with.
Yeah, it really will change the dynamic of the game if they go 2-0 down. Then it is a mountain to climb from there, but they keep it at 1. They've got every chance of pressing on. There's still plenty of time to play. 37 left to play.
Corner lined up from the right side, aimed towards the back post, but headed away by Hopper again. First man to it is Maguire. Cross comes in, good lift clearing away. Morton wants to get there, but man in his way was Jimmy Knowles, who's able to turn. Cross comes in, it takes the deflection off the bottom of Morton's boot. It takes the fizz out of it, and it will just go straight to Nick Hayes, who can roll the ball out to Morton. He's in Gubbins. First time punt forward, looked for Hopper, instead finds the head of Green. The Southend get it back on the ground. Good lift into Gubbins. The centre back gets it back into Morton. Darren Curry joins Kevin Mayer to talk tactics in the technical area. Pyer Forson, is it to Bon on that right wing. Scott Morris back to Bon. Has to turn and pirouette to keep the ball away from Green. Good lift, spreads it to the left where Gubbins waits, just beyond the halfway line for the Blues. Hussein, is it to Morton? Taylor. Now Pye Forson in back to goal. Into Morton. The home fans, now the loud ones, the Southend fans on that far side, hoping that something will come from this cross. It comes off the head of Nicholson. Southend get it back in possession though. Morton. So into Gubbins. Almost lost his feet there, but just managed to get it away from Hazel. And all the Boston players behind the ball now. Morton. Gets it back from Hussein. He's on the left side of the centre circle. Pye Forson in the middle of the pitch. 1-0 to Boston United. If you're joining us on the second half late on BBC Essex Sport on all frequencies and BBC Sport website. Me, Warren Muggleton, and Southend United ladies coach April Smith. Parallon has some space to turn for the visitors. He goes into Morton. Scott Morris has lots of space on this right side, and he does get the ball now. Opens up his body. Beats Bon. Tries the muscles to keep it in, and he's torn the touch out of Nicholson. And Southend, through their possession, have earned themselves a throw-in on this right side.
Yes, they've just got to be a little bit patient now. So if they keep possession, can they drag people out? Long throw from Gus.
Throw-in's taken quickly. You can't get an offside from a throw-in as Parallon tries to loop it on that far side. Goodliff was coming in but couldn't get there. Can't get an offside from a throw-in despite the appeals of fans around us. But Southend in possession. Pye Forster with some acceleration down this left side of the penalty area. And a big tackle comes in from Richards to push it out again, and now the Southend fans are clapping on that far side. Gubbins comes straight up to take it. Only Scott Morris and Taylor not in the periphery of the penalty area. Gubbins launches it. Goes off the head of Mills, and it is cleared away by Boston, but only as far as Scott Morris of Southend. But Boston get the second ball, and Hazel ensuring it keeps moving. Morton tries to get a touch onto it, but he can't, as Maguire is suddenly able to counter, and now it's 4-on-2 for Boston. He comes inside to Hazel, 2 on his left, brings it into Green, has Jimmy Knowles out on his left. He's in the penalty area, tries to drip it in, and he will get it past Nick Hayes. A fast counter-attacking move to show exactly why Boston are top 6 and playoff form over the last 6 games. As Hayes kicks the ball away in frustration, it's Jimmy Knowles who celebrates a 4th goal of the season, and it doubles Boston's lead 2-0 over Southend United.
Yeah, well, it's exactly what Southend didn't want. Really good counter-attack from Boston, and just Southend just weren't aware of it. So they committed bodies forward, Southend, and they were actually left one-on-one. And as soon as that ball bounced, or that, I think it was Goodliff left on his own at the back, if he missed that ball, he was going to be through. And then Boston thought, right, okay, I'm just going to go and join in.
Well, Scott Morris shouting furiously at his teammates to try and get them in the right position. Bon holding his hands to his hips, as does Harry Taylor. As Southend left stunned with Boston's brilliant counter-attack in South Lincolnshire. Jimmy Knowles, the one who celebrates it, and how this game has changed in the space of 6 minutes in this second half. The Blues down 2-0 to Boston United. Never been a draw between these two teams when they faced each other back in League 2. 3 occasions it finished with a 0 score. Southend looking to turn this around, and their workload has got a lot heavier.
Yeah, it's a real test of character, games like this now. They've got to dig in, they've got to try and do something different. So I said it was more of the same at half time. Within 16 minutes, that's now completely gone out the window, and they've got to dig in and find something else to try and get a goal back in this game. At least a goal back.
And Mark Bentley's now got involved in the technical area conference. Mark Bentley does know about scoring against Boston United. He did that in a 2-0 win for Southend back in March 2004. The Southend get possession back in their half. Hussein back to Gubbins, and Parallon has burst down this left side as the ball is thread forward by Gubbins. Needs Teal to Boston to put it out. Big questions to be asked of Southend now. What can they do? Can they respond to going to town? Charlie Kendall has just got stripped and is getting ready to come on. Goodliff picks it up. Pretty much all the Southend outfield players inside the Boston half as Taylor has to come back. Scott Morris into Bon. He'll get it back, but Green manages to take the ball off him, but a foul conceded according to referee Niall Smith, and it will be a free kick for Southend.
Yeah, it's just a little bit late on Scott Morris. He had to jump over the tackle. Just had to jump over the tackle, but there was a little bit of intent there. Not the home fans around us weren't particularly happy about it because I don't think there was much contact, but yeah, there was still intent, enough intent for a free kick. Has to be a good delivery from Morton.
They need something here, Southend United. 2-0 down on BBC Essex Sports as we approach the hour mark. Morton with his free kick from the right side. Whips it in. Comes off the head of Richards. Pia Forson almost lost sight of the ball, but Hussein was there to pick it up. Morton across the grass to Goodliff, who stays up. Puts the cross in. Headed away by Rowe. Hill keeps it up. Hussein wanted Parallon to stay forward, but had come back, so now to go all the way back to Morton. And that applause is because Boston have pushed Southend all the way back to goalkeeper Nick Hayes. He launches it forward looking for Bonn. Gets a head onto it, but Green brings it down and clears it away. Knowles trying to keep it up. Solihull have equalised against Altrincham. Hopper tries to climb and does win it for Southend to keep them moving forward. A Pia Forson sneaking in ahead of Hill, staying on his feet. Little pirouette turn to get round Green, but it is taken off him by Hill. But it's Boston trying to counter again. Maguire has it taken off him by Scott Morris, and now Morton getting it into Bonn. All of a sudden Southend pushing forward. Bonn getting away, tries to put the cross in, but came off his boots and gloops over that fence where that south stand should be and into that construction area, and it will be a goal kick.
Yeah, Bonn tried to just play the ball early, and in that he was off balance, but what he needed to do was probably take it another 2 yards past the defender, and then you can whip it in just to get back across. It's almost like an outswinger, but it was just off balance and it's just gone over the stand into an empty car park.
Yeah, no car alarms have gone off. That's the good news.
Thankfully my car is over there, so
yeah, we are. We're parked by the buses over on that far side. So Cameron Gregory, who started all the games in Boston's unbeaten run, which ended on Saturday. Ball goes out for a throw-in. Hazel staying on the ground after him and Taylor challenged for the ball in the air, with Hazel wondering why whistle didn't go for a foul, but Niall Smith will not stay to give a explanation. Southend get play restarted, playing it across the defence. Goodliff with the ball into Morton. Southend last time they were 2 goals down in a game, by my count, would have been the loss against Barnet back in the middle of January, the 3-0 defeat. Taylor has to think twice before firing the ball down the right wing, and instead opts to put it across to Goodliff. Gets it back from Gubbins and Morton. They're just waiting to find the right pass to get forward as Morton tried to find Scott Morris. It was well read by Green. It does go out for a throw-in, but more frustration for Southend really, April. They're just feeling a bit pinned in and not finding a way through this wall of yellow and black.
Yeah, Boston are just sitting.
Although maybe that could change as Hussein's been found. Gubbins is making an overlapping run behind him, but Hussein wants to keep moving. He does find Gubbins now, whips it in, looks for Hopper, but can't get round Mills and has conceded a foul in the process, so free kick for Boston.
Yeah, they're just playing. Boston are quite happy now. They've got themselves in front and they're quite happy just to sit as a back five and saying, okay, come on, just come and break us down then.
397 visitors. It's 2,397
visitors for Southend United in a crowd which is 2,387, and nearly 400 travelling Southend fans this evening, which is always good to see. But I want to see a bit more bite back now from the men in red. So Boston players have now gone out to warm up as well. Coker's out there. Kendall still warming up. I think those changes might be coming soon. Hussein tries to bring it to ground but goes down in a tumble. Knowles keeps it alive for Boston. Get Mills. He spreads it looking for Rowe, but he's asked too much as Gubbins gets Parallon on the ball for Southend. They can counter, but lots of hands from Richard, from Rowe on Parallon, and he'll see the yellow card for that. Again, it looked like a bit of a bear hug from where we were.
Yeah, it's just a tactical foul. He knew if he'd gone, he would have gone past him at pace, so he needed to stop him. But I think I think what we need now, I think the game is calling. I know Charlie Kendall's just getting ready, but I'd like to see probably just those balls slipped in either side of the centre halves. Can they run onto him instead of having the lofted balls from wide, just to mix it up a little bit, ask different questions.
Walter with a free kick inside the centre circle, gets the header of Bonn. Oh, it's nudged by Gregory. I thought he was going to collect that, but as he put himself alongside the right post, he couldn't keep hold of it, and it just trickles over the byline for a Southend corner kick. And a chance here as Morton steps up for this one. Kendall still getting his tactical instructions from Mayer. 2-0 down Southend at Boston United. Morton goes on the grass as aims for Bonn at the near post, but it's nudged away by Mills, and it'll be a throw-in this time for Southend. Scott Morris lining up to take this one. 25 minutes to respond for Southend.
Yeah, I mean, Southend have got enough firepower and not enough creativity to get those goals, but they've got to do it sooner rather than later, otherwise they might run out of time.
Scott Morris steps up, loops it in, will find the edge of the 6-yard, but Hopper's gone down, but referee's not going to give anything for it. As the ball is cleared away, Taylor is able to get onto it, and Hussein ensures that Boston can't counter, but he's taken a slip and he's given it straight to Maguire, who's got Knowles running down the left, first time into Hazel. He gets it on the chest and gives it back to Knowles, who's continued his run. The scorer of the second goal for Boston. He gets the cut across. He can't get the cross away, and it comes off Taylor, and Goodliff clears for Southend. Boston wants to move forward for a green, but that's the danger at the moment, April Smith. Every time Southend tries to get forward, they know that Boston are going to come straight back. As Appiah Forson gives the ball away as he can't find Bonn. It'll be a throw-in for Boston. A substitution about to come for Southend. It'll be Noor Hussein who makes way for Charlie Kendall. Charlie Kendall with his... So he's had 3 assists in the last 4 games. He'll be looking to make an impact. So how do you think this will change the setup here as well, April? I
think they might just go to a more of like a diamond type shape, but at the moment it looks like Kendall's gone through the middle and Hopper's gone out to the other side with Parallon behind him.
Hazel's managed to intercept a ball for Boston, spreads it out to the right. He's asked Jai Rowe to chase this one down, which he will. And now Boston attacking from that right side. Rowe cutting his side. There's a shot in, but it was trickling to the right of goal always. And Hayes just punching his gloves in frustration that opportunity was gifted to Boston.
Yeah, there's a lot of conversations happening at the moment between the Southend players. And there's definitely a change of shape. So just bear with us while we try and figure out what is going on.
Kevin Mayer's just held up his fingers to saying a 2, and then he's moved his fingers around. But it looks like 4 players in very advanced positions. As you say, I think Morton's very much... It almost seems like there's a bit of a split now between the defence and midfield. Morton sits in front of the defence still. Appiah Forson maybe bridging a gap a bit. It's almost like a 4-2-2-2. We have 2 in the midfield, 2 wide players, and then Hopper and Kendall right at the top.
I would say it's a 4-2-3-1, but it's more like a 4-2-4 really in possession.
York City have doubled their lead over Rochdale. This is all good news for Altrincham, who are 1-1, as we said, against Solihull Moors. Yeah, all those results do keep that playoff race tight, despite the fact that Southend losing here at the Jakeman's Community Stadium as we speak. Taylor creates a space for himself as Southend look to advance, but has to go back to Morton. It's on the right side of the centre circle. Appiah Forson. Now Hopper's the one who's dropped back, but it seems very lucid and fluid. Hopper can't quite get the turn away from Teal. Tried to put the ball through, flick it between his legs, but it was well read by the defender for Boston.
Yeah, I think Southend, they're just trying to draw their midfielders out just to create that space in behind, but Boston are very adamant to stay as a 5 and a flat 5, and then they've just got one that sits in front. Very hard to break down. And the players that we're playing as wing backs now are almost right backs and left back now, with 3 defenders in the middle. Makes it very difficult to break down. And no time to waste for Southend. 68 minutes on the clock. Boston United 2, Southend United 0 here on BBC Essex Sport. Gubbins for Southend. Gives it to Parallon. Tries to curl it into Scott Morris, but has put too much on that one, so it will go out for a throw into Boston. They will take those all day. Yeah, it was just almost too straight sideways, if that makes sense. So it needed to be more angled, just to fall in between the touchline and the edge of the 18-yard box in that channel, that wide channel.
So Cav Miley and Joshua Walker have joined Ollie Coker in warming up to our left. So Darren Curry gives his team a couple of claps of encouragement to just keep them moving, keep them attacking. As Kevin Mayer said in his press conference a couple of weeks ago, attack every game, that's what they've got to do. Eight cup finals, how they need to treat it. They're in possession through Scott Morris. Let's go all the way back to Taylor, but that looks it's a loose pass which Taylor has to chase all the way back to the edge of his own penalty area. He goes laterally to Gubbins through Goodliff. Yeah, he wants to find Parallon, but he's being forced to go square every time. And now Morton, because he's seen those long passes out to Scott Morris and the like, intercepted and counter-attacked, he's second guessing now about whether to make those passes or not. Maybe he'll do it here. No, Parallon has to come towards the ball, but he does get there and feeds it straight into Gubbins. He's hugging that left wing as he gets into Boston's half. To Parallon. They exchange passes. Now Hopper has come into it. Back to goal, but now feeds Parallon. Over the step overs. Edge of the penalty box now. He'll think about the shot, but it's blocked by Mills, the captain. Morton has read it though, so Boston can't counter. Gubbins puts the cross in. He'll look for Bond's head, but it goes over him as well as Cameron Green. He wants to see the ball out, but Bond will try and keep it in. He had kept it in, but the assistant, Declan Ford, said that a foul had been conceded by Bond, so a free kick to Boston, pretty much on the right corner.
Yeah, I'm not sure that there's much in that foul at all. Bond just tried to, the defenders used his body, and I think Bond just tried to get around him. I don't think there's much in that.
Aldershot Town have equalised against Wealdstone in a clash which impacts the bottom of the table. But now Southend keeping their focus here at Jakeman's as they have work to do. 2 goals down against Boston. As we say, they've been so impressive in their most recent run of form. Started back at the beginning of March. 3-1 win on the road at Dagenham and Redbridge. Holding Rochdale to a goalless draw. Drawing against Woking 2-2. Beating Yeovil 3-0 on the road and Braintree 1-0 on the road. Before travelling to Rochdale and beating them 3-2. Ending last week with a 4-1 defeat against Hartlepool. But they managed to pick up a lone player in Greg Sloggett, who's on the bench. And they're on the charge now, Boston. Through Green. On his left side, Scott Morris in front of him. Tries to thread it in to Maguire. There was a slip from Morton as he tried to defend it, and now a Pia Forson slip, but referee says that's because Maguire was pulling back on him, so a free kick to Southend.
Yeah, there's been a few slips tonight. I don't know whether they've watered it extra or just wrong footwear, but yeah, there's been a few slips.
Now, Kevin described it as a very slick pitch out there. Well, Parallon trying to move at pace for Southend down the left, cuts inside. Get around Richards. We go from left to right again. Scott Morris. About 20 metres in front of us as we're tucked into this east stand at the Jakeman's Community Stadium. Bond has to go back to Morton. Right side of the centre circle inside Boston's half. Taylor going back to Morton, and again Boston set up every man behind the ball. Always 5 in that defensive line, 4 in midfield. Hazel the most advanced of them, waiting to spring on the counter. Taylor tried to spring Scott Morris down the right, but it's blocked by Hill. There'll be a throw-in for Southend. They take quickly. We're up to the last 15 minutes of normal time. Boston 2, Southend 0 here on BBC Essex Sport. Now it's Gubbins. He whips it in. Looks for Hopper, but it's Mills that heads it away. Ball bounces in front of those Southend fans who are continuing to cheer their team on. Gubbins will line up this throw-in. A couple of players coming back, and Curry and Mayer continuing to scribble furiously to try and sort their tactics out. Try and get back at this Boston team. They are so stubborn. Parallon muscles to keep the ball. And he managed to twist his way into the penalty area. Cuts inside. He'll whip a shot in. Oh, and it needed Nicholson's head to clear it away. Parallon, he's just finding more space now. Drifting from that left side. Got into the penalty area, aiming for the top right corner. And Nicholson had to head his away. And it gives Southend a corner kick.
Yeah, and one thing that he done really well is that he committed players, and he had to bring, by going into the goal and then back away from the goal, you're just drawing those players out to create that space.
Morton with this corner kick. He's at the head of Bond, but comes off the body of Richards. A couple of scores to bring in the National League. York City now have 3 goals against Rochdale. Again, good news for Southend as they to try and stay in that playoff race. Meanwhile, Aldershot have turned it around against Wilson. They lead 2-1. Gubbins tries to volley the shot and get it onto Goodliff's boots on the edge of the 6-yard box, but he can't quite get it away. It was clever from Southend, and they're finding a few pockets of space in that final third, but still no way through Cameron Gregory's net. Still 2-0 to Boston.
Yeah, they're just questioning now what are they going to do different. Is it going to be a change of shape? There's a lot of conversations happening at the moment. Is it going to be a personnel change? Is it going to be a tactical change in terms of the players that they've already got on there?
One goal kick from Gregory, aimed towards that technical area. Hazel trying to head it on, but it comes off Scott Morris. So Boston with the throw-in. Just had that moment where they grew in the game. Got those 2 goals in 6 minutes. A few fans in that left corner of the north stand putting up their phone lights. Not sure why they're doing that. It's not a Coldplay concert, or whether they're trying to put off the Southend players warming up nearest to them, which are Nathan Ralph and Cav Miley. And now Darren Curry's calling for both of them to come back in. I bet we're going to see more changes soon, April Smith. As Nicholson launches a ball forward for Boston. Hopper's gone down under pressure from Richards and does win the free kick off of Boston for Southend into the last 15 minutes of normal time. Boston with 3 shots in this second half and 2 of them on target and 2 goals. Hayes wants to get everybody forwards as that clock ticks away menacingly in South Lincolnshire. Hayes will find Goodliff's head. He wants to get it onto Bond. Kendall can't get to the loose ball as Green puts it forward for Boston. And now they want to counter through Hill, but Appiah Forson has read the run of the midfielder. He's able to get space to turn. Drives down that right wing. Comes inside for Morton to pick up. Southend with possession, but the only way was to go backwards because of the pressure of Maguire and Hill from the Boston midfield. Goodliff into Gubbins on that left. He wants Hopper to climb for the ball. She will, but he's backed into the defender Teal. He gives away the foul and a free kick for Boston. And frustration grows for those travelling Southend fans as substitutions are about to come. First one is a debut for the new Boston United man on loan, Greg Sloggett. He comes on for the scorer of the first goal, Frankie Maguire. This with 77 minutes on the clock and a few fans around us standing to praise Maguire and his impact. And a chance for them to see a new man in Greg Sloggett as he comes in. And Southend meanwhile will have 2 changes. Josh Walker and Cav Miley getting ready to come on. We'll see who comes off for this one. First one sees Josh Walker come on. So Tom Hopper coming off with Josh Walker coming on. That's the first change. And the second one, we'll see Cav Miley coming on for James Morton. So like for like changes then, April.
Yeah, he'll go into the same position, but I think what Miley does a little bit different is that he's quite happy just to step in those 5 yards, whereas I think Morton's when he does receive the ball, he's quite happy to be where he is and then pass, whereas I think Miley will try and at least gain those 5-10 yards every time he does get the ball.
Can Kevin Mayer find that key to unlock Boston's defence, get themselves on the scoreboard? Green coming forward for the home side. Is it into Knowles? Into that left corner. It does come off Taylor for a corner kick to the home side. 4th corner kick of the second half for them. Boston 2, Southend 0 on BBC Essex Sport on all frequencies and the BBC Sport website. With me, Warren Muggleton, and Southend United ladies coach April Smith. The night starting to get colder in South Lincolnshire. Sloggett with his first touches of the ball from the corner kick. Finds Richards, edge of the penalty box. Gives it to Hill. Into the penalty area. Goes down. Referee says nothing given. Shot gets fired in. There's a back flick. There's motion. And there is a goal as Boston kept it alive. They kept pushing forward. And the one to wheel away celebrating is Zach Mills, the captain. A 5th goal of the season for him. And Boston, who've just kept pushing and pushing on a Southend team that have just become malleable in this second half. They worked it from side to side. And they're rewarded their 3rd goal. Boston 3, Southend 0.
Yeah, again, pretty similar to the first goal. Boston were just so much more reactive to play around the edge of the box. It's taken a horrible deflection. I'm not sure who it come off, but it took a deflection. It's just bounced up. And they've just cut across. Hayes has already committed one side, and he's just gone across his body, and he wasn't going to get there. But it's a good finish, but yeah, some questions I think being asked from each other out on the pitch from Southend.
Well, Boston fans beaming with smiles all around us. Southend with sad faces as they are left stunned at how going down by 3 goals. It's a lot to do now in 10 minutes of normal time, and Mayer yelling at his team now to try and get them moving. Rochdale have got York City have got a 4th goal against Rochdale. Southend, they seem a bit shell-shocked really, those fans as well. They're so used to seeing Southend being stubborn in defence and creative going forward, which has led them to that unbeaten run of 9 games, but that looks to be coming to an end here in South Lincolnshire. Kendall hugging the right wing, trying to find a way through Richardson, but can't. There'll be Scott Morris with this throw-in. Aldershot have a 3rd goal against Wealdstone. They lead 3-1. Scott Morris with this cross. Looks for Goodliff's head, but is beaten to it by Richards. Miley will chase the follow-up. Gets there ahead of Hazel. So Southend in possession inside Boston's half. Miley gets it back. He wants a runner coming towards him in Walker, but his pass is heavy and Sloggett gets there first. In that vein, they just made it seem like a bit of a slog at the moment. Southend trying to get forward and get connections in that final third.
Yeah, they haven't really had much fluidity, particularly in the second half. Boston have had few moments at a Southend goal, but they've taken every single one, and that has been the difference between the two sides. Southend have had probably the better possession, been creative more, but Boston have dug in. They've had a 5, and when they've had the opportunity to counter-attack, they've made the most of it.
Now Southend into the final third for Scott Morris. It's a nudge ahead of Knowles, but can't get the cross away. It comes off the forward and it will go over the byline for a Southend corner. The second one of the second half. Scott Morris running straight over to it. 8 minutes of time left. Boston 3, Southend 0. As he lines up this corner, aims away from the goal. Goodliff bounce off the goalkeeper. Walker's there with the follow-up. No. And it's an offside against Josh Walker. There's a great header from the corner kick on the edge of the 6-yard box. Came off the body of Gregory, who hasn't really caught anything, the goalkeeper today. It fell to Walker to put it into that bottom right corner, but the referee looks to the assistant, Declan Ford, who says it's an offside. So no goal, still 3-0.
Really good play though. It's really positive from the header in. The keeper spilt it, and he'd been doing that a lot throughout the game, and he just needed to be reactive. And Josh Walker, I'm not entirely convinced who was keeping him on offside. I thought he was onside, but obviously the linesman's got a better view than me, and now Bon and Gus Scott Morris are debating that with the linesman as well.
Substitution has been made with Jimmy Knowles coming off in place of Keaton Ward. Jimmy Knowles with that second goal for Boston. So we'll get restarted with that goal kick for the home team, the Pilgrims, who with this would be putting themselves right in the survival battle in the 5th tier of English football. Ball bounces and Ward is able to get a head onto it for Boston, but it's Goodliff that clears it away. It's fall loose, but Mills able to get there for Boston and put it out of play. Right now, Boston going level on points with Dagenham and Redbridge. with a game in hand. They jumped from 23rd to 21st. Meanwhile, Southend sitting in 9th, 2 places off the playoffs, but only 1 point off though. As you said, the latest we had of Altrincham was that they were level against Solihull Moors. Southend meanwhile in possession through Josh Walker, who wants to make his way on the left side of the penalty box. He whips across it. Scott Morris can't get his boot there. Would have been a step closer. Might have been able to poke it into the net for his goal number 18, but instead it trickles all the way out, and it will be a throw-in for Boston on their left, deep inside their own half.
Yeah, it was a really good delivery from Josh Walker. They had 10 players inside the 18-yard box, so it had to be pinpoint, and he was inches away. But they're not going to be in any rush to take this throw-in.
Yeah, Nicholson lining this one up. Throw-in comes off Scott Morris. The Pie Fawson keeps it in. As Green and Ward combine to thread the ball down the left wing. It falls all the way to the Southend goalkeeper Nick Hayes, who's wait for a first Southend clean sheet since his first stint with the club back in October 2023. A 3-0 win over Ebbsfleet. His wait for that clean sheet continues on his return to the club, having joined from Barnet in February. Bon gets onto a ball ahead of Zach Mills. He's able to turn. It's been muscled back by the Boston captain, Parallon. And just a shimmy away. Trying to chip it over, and Mills not able to get to the ball, so maybe I'll go out for a corner if it's a free kick, we will see. But meanwhile, referee has pulled out a 3rd yellow card of the game against Mills. The 2 before that were Knowles and Rowe. It is a free kick for Southend. It's beyond the left corner flag. Can they get themselves on the scoreboard? Can they get something to take for those Southend United fans to take home with them?
Yeah, it's almost like a corner. It's not far out. It's probably about 10 yards. 10 yards outside of the box.
Scott Morris standing over it. Like half a metre out beyond the byline, or inside the pitch from the byline. So Scott Morris to stand over this one. Only Miley in the Pie Force and not in the penalty box. The referee is having a word with Nicholson and Goodliff as they tussle for position. A little wry smile from the Boston defender towards the assistant. Scott Morris whips this one in. Oh, it's hit the roof of the net, but not on the right side of it, unfortunately. He had threats to curl in that one, but certainly no one was getting a header onto that one. Scott Morris had one thing on his mind.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's scoring from anywhere at the moment, but that is a really, really tough ask to score from a position like that, especially when we've loaded the box.
And the pace of the game, as you imagine, with the ball going out, slowing right down. Boston in no rush to take the goal kick. Well, Victoria Polly waiting in the studio. She'll be very keen to hear from you Blues fans and your thoughts of this game in South Lincolnshire. Send us a text 81333 or a WhatsApp 08000 321 333. Start those messages with Essex. Send us a message on X at BBC Essex Sport. Give us a call 0800 111 4041 or email essex.sport@bbc.co.uk. Plenty more action to come. Of course, on Friday I'll be in the Wartford studio as Colchester host Grimsby Town in League 2 action. Then we've got a late kick-off on the Saturday. Woking v Braintree. It's the 3 o'clock kick-off on Saturday, with Southend hosting Oldham Athletic on Saturday, a 5:30 kick-off. And then we're back again the following Tuesday, 1st of April. Colchester travel to Gillingham. And Braintree hosts Sutton United in the National League Cup semi-finals. Meanwhile, Boston trying to counter again through Ward. They get it into Hazel, who's able to turn. Richards running down the left, but Hazel decides to turn back into Sloggett. Getting Ward on the ball down this left side. He's got ahead of Miley, who's managed to get the slide tackle right, but Southend back in possession inside their own half. Waiting to see how much stoppage time we'll be getting. There might be a Boston substitution before that, as Gubbins lifts this down the left wing, asking Parallon to chase. Walker tried to win the ball off Boston, but gives the free kick away. Here comes the 3rd substitution for Boston, which will see Oliver Green coming on and Dylan Hill coming off. He's done some quite hard work out there, April, for Boston. Has made things difficult, especially when we're moving forward, especially for defending counter-attacks for Southend.
Yeah, and every single Boston player has been really efficient, really dogged, really determined. Everything you'd probably expect from a Graham Coughlin side.
Oliver Green did spend time in the playing in Scotland from Livingston, or Hull Academy graduate. As Boston gets started with this free kick, aim for the edge of the penalty area. It bounces, might fall to Hazel. Can't keep it alive as he stumbles into the sponsorship boards. The ball bundles into the home fans, who are trying to get the ball out amongst themselves, but a bit of time wasting tactics as another ball is thrown on the pitch. 5 minutes of stoppage time coming up. So 5 minutes. I mean, too steep a task for Southend. But April Smith has just been, as you say, Boston have been the ones that have been forward. What we saw Southend do on Saturday, getting forward on the ball, one-touch passing, moving quickly, and just Southend have just not done that today. Not been sharp as they have been. They had good moments in the first half where they could have created something, but they just needed to get a bit further into the final third, a bit braver, in order to find a way of threatening Cameron Gregory's goal, but not to be today. And it's Boston being fast in the counter-attack that's been the winner today.
Yeah, they've been really clinical as well on the counter-attack. But we had the warning sign from Rowe early on, just going wide of the post. And we thought that was going to be it, because Southend were dominant in the first half, had a lot of possession, had really good positive play. Boston have had 2 counter-attacks and they've scored them both.
They play 1 minute of stoppage time. Boston 3, Southend United 0. Miley looking for Bond, but just over the forward's head as it goes over the byline. There'll be a goal kick. There was substitution to come for Boston, which will see Jacob Hazel come off and Adam Marriott come on. April, the role of Hazel has been vital really for Boston in what they've done today.
Yeah, everything has started from him, from his press, from his runs. He's given Harry Taylor and Ben Goodliff a really, really difficult time, and the standing ovation from all 4 stands, 3 stands, has been worth it. He's been outstanding for them tonight, really led the line really well.
Yeah, people in yellow and black all around us on their feet to applaud the St Kitts and Nevis man. Just played his part. Maybe feel a bit of frustration for not getting on the scoreboard, but he certainly did his bit. Frankie Maguire, Jimmy Knowles and Zach Mills with the goals for Boston this evening at the Jacobs Community Stadium, which will make that journey a little bit longer back home for the Blues fans. Nearly 400 of them travelling to South Lincolnshire. Southend in possession now as they move the ball from right to left across the defensive line. A long ball looks for Bon. Wants to head it into the path of Walker, but goes behind him. Parrell unable to pick it up. This will be Parrellon's first full game for Southend as well. He's worked his minutes up gradually, having made the step up from Slough Town in National League South. As Boston attempt to put the ball downfield from the left side. Taylor intercepting for Southend. And we go full circle back to Gubbins. Josh Walker making the run now. Try and get there ahead of Mills, but Mills will get there first. Goes down under very gentle push, and it does go out for a corner kick. No reward for the foul for the Boston Cats in there. And a corner kick, and a chance here for Southend to get themselves on the scoreboard.
Yeah, a consolation goal would be nice for the travelling fans, especially those this is their second trip this season.
Scott Morris to cross this one in. Here's the far post. Goodliff's head, but goes right across the goal line. And a kick out from Scott Morris in frustration. It comes off the fencing where that south stand would be, as nothing comes of that opportunity. Has to go down as a shot, I think, as it goes right across. 1.5 minutes left of time, stoppage time to play. Also, don't forget to stay tuned. We will hear from Kevin Mayer after the game, on air till 10:30. So do get your thoughts in to Victoria, who's waiting back in the studio to hear from you here on BBC Essex Sport. As Gregory lines up another one, and Most people staying in. Southend fans all staying. A couple have started making their way out. There's the buses line up to start that journey back to Essex. But not many people leaving their seats with just about a minute left of this game. Southend trying to find Walker, but it's won by Teal. They want to move it through Ollie Green. But they can't as Goodliff intercepts. Parallon brings it under control for Southend. The Pie Forson just staying down. He's dragged back up by Cav Miley, but it's a bit uncomfortable as he gets up from that one of Pie Forson. Hopefully nothing too serious. He's still on his feet and on the ball. 10 seconds left here. Pie Forson lofting it into Bon, and then looking for Walker. Can't quite find the forward. As Rowe tries to turn and get the ball away, it will bounce out. As Gubbins wants to get on with the throw, and we tick over 5 minutes of stoppage time. The ball still in play through Taylor. We can only go back to Goodliff again. As it's to Gubbins. Parallon to Taylor. Making territory, but not much of it. Kendall. He's had very few touches in this game as he came on as a substitute. He was able to turn and give it back to Scott Morris. Now on the periphery of the penalty area. Tried to put a cross in. It bounced off Ward. And it's the last act of what has been a frustrating night for Southend United as Kendall slams the ball into the ground in anger. All they can do is hold their hands on their heads as they were left stunned by 3 second half goals from above in-form Boston United side. Goals from Frankie Maguire, a set piece from a throw-in, a counter-attack finished by Jimmy Knowles, and a corner kick from the training ground finished off by the captain Zach Mills. Southend have been beaten fairly today, and they've been beaten by being second best all over the pitch on this occasion at the James Community Stadium. It finishes 3-0 to Boston United in April. A disappointing one for Southend, really, especially based on their recent performances. Just in that run that we've seen them, just so uncharacteristic. But that second half, first half was quite decent.
Yeah, and Boston came out a completely different team in the second half. They thought if they could just go in at half time, get to half time, and then they can really put their game playing into action. And unfortunately for Southend, Boston took their moments. They didn't get many of them, and they knew they weren't going to get many of them. They were really clinical in those moments. And then after that, they said, okay, just come at us. You can have the ball as much as you want, but you're going to have to break us down. And Southend just, unfortunately, all over the park, just didn't win those one-on-one duels. And they were first to everything, Boston. They wanted the ball, and when Southend had possession and they were keeping it, they said, okay, you can have it, but actually if there's going to be a 50-50, we're going to win it. And I think that was the slight difference between the two sides tonight.
Yeah, they've gone over now, so 150 fans or so have stayed in the stadium to clap the team as they've all made their way over to clap the fans who have travelled. I suppose it makes me think as well to what Danny Cowley was saying at Colchester United as well. When they had that 4-1 loss to Bradford on Saturday, he said, it's one of the best things that could happen to them. Especially coming to this crucial part of the season with a tough game against Oldham coming up next, and off games where they are, and other results, as you say, have still kind of gone their way. They are still only 1 point off the playoffs, with Rochdale losing and Altrincham drawing, which means they've dropped a place, but they could take things from this. As disappointing as it is now, they still could take, and it could give them another platform to build on.
Yeah, and I think they will be disappointed, and you could tell they were getting frustrated more as the half went on, particularly in the players. And even now, Darren Curry and Kevin Mayer are in deep conversation and asking questions about what happened, what they could have done, and they'll look back at the footage, and I wouldn't want to be Oldham playing against that, because they'll want to come out and they'll want to prove something, particularly at home in front of a Roots Hall crowd, best part of 8,000. They'll want to go out and they'll want to prove people that they are still in contention for the playoffs.
April Smith, thank you very much for your thoughts as always. Victoria waiting in the studio to hear from you. 81333 on text, 08000 321 333 on WhatsApp. Start those messages with Essex. Well, Boston United have shown why they are in playoff form right now, as they have marched to a first win against Southend in 20 years. As for Southend United, in what has become a biting cold night on the outskirts of Boston, their hot streak ends at 9 games, and that long journey back from South Lincolnshire, which has got a little bit longer, Full time at the Jakeman's Community Stadium. Boston United 3, Southend United 0.
Explore the Americas on BBC iPlayer.
It's an epic journey where we search for the wild and the wonderful.
Narrated by Tom Hanks.
It's up close, it is shocking, and it's beautiful.
The Americas. Watch on BBC iPlayer. BBC Essex Sport.
Well then, Southend United fans, the unbeaten run comes to an end after 9 games. A 3-0 defeat at Boston United this evening. If you want to let me know your thoughts, you can do so. 81333 on the text, 08000 321 333 on WhatsApp. Start your messages with the word Essex. The real damage done in that first 10 minutes, really, into the second half of the game, making it all too difficult for Southend United to get back into. We'll get reaction from the Blues camp between now and 10:30 on the programme, but would really like to hear from you as well at BBC Essex Sport on X if you want to get involved that way. You can also email us essex.sport@bbc.co.uk. I'll run you through scores from elsewhere as well as we go through the evenings, many ticking over into full time at the moment. Wales have conceded a late goal in their World Cup qualifier. It's North Macedonia 1, Wales 0 in the 90th minute of that one. So they're into additional time there. A goal down are Craig Bellamy's side. I'll also round up the scores from the National League. Couple of games still playing, but it'll be interesting to go through results, and we'll take you through the league table as well. We'll run through all the scores locally as well here on the programme between now and 10:30. We've got games going on in the Isthmian Premier, the Isthmian North, the Essex Senior League. And although Colchester United weren't in action this evening, there are some games going on in League Two. Not too much movement around Colchester United, but we will go through the League Two table as well before we finish. We'll reflect on some of our sporting action from the rest of the week as well, with the likes of netball, ex-England defender Stuart Pearce, and some goalball as well to bring you on the programme. So plenty to come between now and 10:30. Already some of your thoughts coming in. 81333 on the text. Alan says it's the same for Southend. They can't beat the teams below them. Maybe there's an attitude that it'll be an easy game. Richard on the messages as well says 3 away games in 10 days for Southend. It's 1 game too many. While Nikki in Lee says Graham Coughlin could come in as manager next season. That's a man who will get us out of this league. 08000 321 333 on WhatsApp. Start your messages with the word Essex to get in touch. Let's get some more thoughts from April Smith, Southend United ladies coach, who's watching alongside Warren for us this evening. And April, it just really felt like all the damage was done in that 10-minute period after the break.
Yeah, and they got themselves to half-time, and I actually thought Southend were the better side going into half-time, and we were thinking, more of the same. But full credit to Boston, they came out a completely different team at half-time. They'd come close with Hazel early on, just 3 yards wide of the post, and that was a warning sign, I think. So Boston, they made it really difficult to break down. They sat as a back five, and they said, right, you're gonna have to break us down, and everything that came over the top. So they knew we were going to play wide because we had Gus Scott Morris and Parallon out the other side, really wide, and every ball that came over, the Boston defenders just dealt with, and then from there, that's when they counter-attacked, and they didn't have many opportunities, Boston, to get goals, but when they did, they really, really did make them count, and that was probably the difference between the two sides. And it was an uphill climb from when that second goal went in. And Southend needed to do something different, and I'm not sure exactly where that was going to come from. I think they had to play off the second balls a bit more, so when they were going, they almost tried to force them to play long, and what they needed to do, Southend, was have people pick up those second balls and then drive at players, so commit some Boston defenders and then have other players come off. I thought Southend were really unlucky with their offside goal. Really good play. They'd almost done what Boston had done to them, and Boston players just stood still in the box. But yeah, a lot of thinking. I think there's going to be a lot of chats. They'll probably watch it back, just saying what can they do. But you can see exactly why Boston are on a really good run, really hard to break down, and when they can, Hazel leads that line so well. Yeah, and I just think Boston done exactly what they needed to. That 6 minutes, the damage was done, and I think, yeah, it just took all the wind out of Southend sails, unfortunately.
What exactly was it that they did so differently that maybe you hadn't seen from in the first half that took Southend United unawares, or felt like it took them by surprise after the break?
Well, the big difference, I think, was that they wanted to get on the ball. Boston in the first half, Southend had a lot of possession, tried to pull people out of play, and the difference was Boston came out and they were quite happy to be without the ball, but every time there was a 50-50, Boston said, yep, we're going to win it and we're going to start the attack from there. Instead of waiting for a set piece or a throw in, they started to win those 50-50 duels, and I think that was the big difference in the second half, particularly in that first sort of 15 minutes.
And we talked in the first part of the programme about Southend United trying to keep a clean sheet. Nick Hayes hasn't kept one since he came back into this Southend United side, and obviously for goalkeepers, it's what they pride themselves on. How much collective responsibility is there between? Well, I know it will be the defence and him that are looked at in terms of that, but Southend United as a whole just needing to tighten up this defence.
Yeah, and I think at times there was, when we play a back four, what happens is the Gus Scott Morris and Gubbins or Ralph, whoever's playing on that side, they get themselves really high and wide, and then when we play out, we've got either Goldin or Goodliff and Harry Taylor. They're so far apart. Morton then comes and drops in the middle of them, but actually when we do attack and we're committing bodies forward, we are leaving 2v2 at the back, and it is exposing us a little bit. So there's not, normally you have recovery runs and you have someone covering over and you've always got that extra man to come and recover, but Southend didn't do that today, and I think they just didn't win their individual battles. So it did expose us through not through sort of quality or beating a player, but just 1v1 and just being stronger, being braver. And you know, two of the goals, everyone just stood still. I think it just took everyone by surprise, and Boston were just quick to react to that. And like I said, they were quick to react. They won their battles. And obviously Harry Taylor and the relationship he has with Goldin is different to Goodliff, and they do play different, and you can see that. So I think there is still relationships to be built there. And I know it's difficult when you've got players coming in and out through injury. But yeah, it's definitely a different dynamic when they play the four to when they play as a three.